I'm the host of YoyoChinese.com, and Jason is our product manager, okay?
Right.
So today we have something really, really exciting to announce.
Yes, we just released level 1 of the new Upper Intermediate Conversational Chinese course on the website.
Yes. And even though it sounds like a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
But it's a really exciting course. So let's take a look at a video first, all
Yeah,
right?
before we dive into details, just watch the video.
All right, so.
All right.
你好, my name is Yang Yang. My favorite thing to do in the world is to teach Chinese. Recently, I went to the 4 biggest cities in China to film our Yoyo Chinese Upper Intermediate Conversational Course. The entire course is based on unscripted interactions with my friends, family, and even strangers. You'll hear the way Chinese people from different regions and walks of life actually speak Mandarin. The conversations cover a wide range of topics and are authentic, personal, and occasionally even emotional. I break down each dialogue for you using standard pronunciation and a 50-50 balance of Chinese and English. The mix of mini documentaries, interviews, and classroom explanations makes studying Mandarin fun, while interactive features on our website reinforce what you've learned. Try our Upper Intermediate course on YoyoChinese.com and see how we make Chinese learning possible.
All right. So as you can see, it's a really dynamic, very interesting course, and we're super, super excited to bring it to you.
Yeah, right. So you actually see my family members, like my mom, my dad, my 表妹, which is my younger female cousin from my mom's side, and my cousin, male cousin, and also my best friend from high school.
That's right.
So you see a lot of my friends and family, and we see strangers. You know, for example, we will go to a supermarket and shop there, or we're gonna order food at a really nice restaurant. So you see all these different scenarios.
Yeah, the course is actually almost like a documentary, right? It's like a mini documentary following you traveling around China to these really interesting places, talking to your friends and family while learning Chinese and focusing on the language.
Right, we went to the 4 biggest cities in China, or I would say 4 of the biggest.
Yeah, 4 of the biggest.
Yeah, so they are.
I know we went to Beijing,
北京,
Shanghai,
对,
深圳,
对,
and Guangzhou.
对, it's like going all the way from like the north all the way down.
Yeah, it spans the whole country.
Yeah, I have friends and family all over the place. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And we poured a ton of work and effort into this course. And before we even did the linguistic side of it, the website part of it after we got back, the academic stuff, the actual filming itself was a crazy adventure, right?
Right. Okay, so what you're seeing now on screen is the photo that we took, after one of the shot of the dinner scene, right? So to my right is our academic director Yan Feng, right? Who is also a very good friend of mine.
And he's in the course.
Yeah, he's one of the characters in the course.
Yep.
And to my left is our sound engineer Zhang.
Yep.
And the one on the far left is Caleb, and he's our videographer. So 4 of us are travel to China for a whole month.
Yeah.
Right, to shoot this course. And
super busy.
Yeah. So actually, we spent almost 2 months preparing for the course before we leave. And then when we're there, we spend 8 to 10 hours a day shooting every single day.
It sounded like fun,
It's
but now I'm
exhausting,
kind of happy that I was able to stay back here and prepare the website.
Yeah, and after we came back, and we pretty much spent a few months just diving into all the transcripts. Think about 30 days of talking and shooting. So we have tons of footage, so we have to go through all of them and find the most appropriate language points to deliver to you guys.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool that you mentioned to me that it was kind of like the journey to the east instead of journey to the west.
Yeah, this is the Tiananmen Square our team.
Yep, and you can see Mao Zedong there in the background, the portrait of Mao. But in Journey to the West, right, there's these 4 characters. You guys also had 4 characters. You were going to China to bring back this thing. In Journey to the West, they go to bring back the scrolls or whatever, and then you guys were going to bring back this language learning course.
Yeah, so we call it Journey to the East, right?
Yeah. And it wasn't just, this very static kind of scenario stuff. There's tons of, as you'll see in the course, and as we'll show you, these very live, dynamic, moving scenarios. Like this is in a hutong in Beijing.
Yeah,
right?
we actually traveled in the hutong, and then we have a tour guide right in front of us, explaining how the building in ancient
Yeah.
time works. So it's really fun. So what you're seeing now is the Caleb is our videographer shooting in the what's called rickshaw or
Yeah, rickshaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe a bicycle rickshaw, I guess, if
yeah,
you're not running.
三轮车, three-wheel vehicle in front of us.
And the next thing we'd like to show you is we have a couple examples of these scenarios that are very authentically China and very authentically Chinese that we wanted to include to help you understand how to navigate life and living in China and using your Chinese, not just the language.
So let's take a look at some clips from the actual lessons, right? And then let us know what you think. So let's start.
This first one's a classic. I think.
Oh, yeah. So can you click?
I think you'll understand it just from watching.
But I do want to introduce like the characters here real quick,
Sure.
right? So sitting next to me is this guy. His name is He Ming, right? He's a good friend, and also he's a business owner.
Yeah.
So we went there to actually just to see if there's any opportunities for us to potentially collaborate on some
Yep.
stuff. But this is actually a scene.
Yeah, this is real.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, real. We
Yeah.
did talk about business, and after that, for the Chinese practice, that the host usually takes the guest to a restaurant, right?
Yes.
To further relationship. So this is what's happening after we eat, and we were doing something typically what a Chinese person would do.
Yes.
So let's take a look.
大家都吃好了吗？
吃好了，吃好了，
感觉怎么样？
挺好的，真挺好吃。
好好好
谢谢啊。
啊服务员买单
带我们来这个地
那
方。
咱们买单。
买单。哎，你好，买单。
你别算，我来。
哎，你好，那个买单。
哎，别，我是会员，
这真不行这真不行
别，客随主便。
不行，
客
不行
随主，
我们这弄一大堆
哎
人，你就一个人。
以后我到美国，
来
我以后我去美国，
来，哎不，这还真不行，行，真的，啊行，
真是你真安排让我安排，这
不是，那这样你一会儿我们一会儿把微信转给你啊。
哎呀，别做。
So that was this very classic scenario of fighting for the bill, right? And
Right.
that's one of the topics that's covered in the course, and it's all about basically how Chinese people fight for the bill. Not just the language that's used, the actual language that's used, but
Yeah,
the
it's like,
fine
no,
language.
no,
I got it.
my turn. Yeah.
I've been in China in scenarios where I legitimately thought there was an actual fist fight breaking out in the restaurant, but it was just people fighting over the bill, right?
Yeah, so when we're finding the bill, I was telling the guy, like, no, actually, so we have a team of 4, so it's not fair for you to pay
Right.
for all of us, so I should pay. And then he was saying, no, you are my guest, I'm your host.
Yeah,
so next time,
客随主便, right?
客随主便, right?
Yeah.
So the guest should do what the host is pleasing, right?
Yep.
And also, next time I go to the US, and that's your treat. So we're all trying to fight to pay the bill.
Yeah, and that's where video, I think, really shines as a learning tool, because if you just listen to audio, maybe it's not as clear how you're supposed to use your body when you communicate and kind of like grabbing at each other and stuff like that. And we have other courses that have a fantastic, more examples of that, where using the way you move your body around when you talk can be
Right, so
really
for
cool.
example, the very first few lessons, which is free on our website for you to sample.
Yes.
It's like Yan Feng, which is our academic director, my friend and my partner, enter the house, right? So there are lots of
And
little...
they meet your parents.
For the first time in real life.
And you notice that Yanfeng does this kind of thing that I've never heard many people talk about this, but Chinese people, they don't bow like the typical Japanese bow, but it's kind of politeful to nod your head down when you meet somebody. Oh, thank you so much. 谢谢, or nice to meet you,
Right.
And it's those little details that really shine in a course like this, I think. So
Right,
I
so
think that you'll really enjoy.
Yeah, so just something quick about like trying to pay the bill, right? So you notice that Chinese people, like, we like to insist on paying the bill. It's what, like, if you say no to me for the first time, I would say no. I'll continue to insist, because that's the Chinese way.
Yep. I used to always say, like, in China, you have to push twice. If you
Or
push for
three-
something,
or 3 times.
or even 3 times, yeah, they'll resist. But what's really funny is one time, I remember I was thinking, okay, the polite thing to do in China is to insist to pay the bill. And I think I was with a bunch of people, and there was
Like
somebody
10 people, right?
Yeah, and there was somebody who was clearly supposed to be the person who paid, and I said, I got this, don't worry. And I thought he would say, and he resisted at first. I said, no, I got it. And then I figured I wouldn't have to. I was trying to be polite, and of course he said, okay, thanks. And I'm like, oh gosh. So I had to foot the bill of a pretty expensive bill. So there's this funny back and forth cultural stuff.
Right, so okay, maybe the rule of thumb is that insist, But if you're not sincere about your offer, maybe insist only
Yes.
once or twice. But if you're sincere, then insist. Just do it all the way till you win the battle.
Exactly. And I think, it's good to watch these lessons because you learn how to insist. So
Right.
you might just think, okay, I will say I pay the bill, but there's actually like ways, like you're saying, where you come up with different excuses and different reasons why you should pay. I think that's all really helpful stuff.
Yeah, basically we do have cultural commentary on how to do these things, or
Exactly.
nuances. So you'll see in the video. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let's see another video.
The next one is a cool location, basically. This is another classic Chinese scenario where we take the students along with you and your parents to the park.
Right. So, in China, majority of the Chinese people live in apartments, right? There's not a lot of space. We don't have backyard or front yard like in the West.
Yeah.
So majority of the people will actually go to park to do exercises or socialize, right? So park is a very special thing in China. You'll
Totally.
see people doing all sorts of crazy things, including my mom and dad. So let's take a look at this video.
All right. What I really like about this too, I think, and I think our users will really like, is that it's very personal, right? The course like follows you, and it's with your parents are there multiple times in different lessons, and you get to kind of travel along with you, meeting your family and stuff. And I think that helps you kind of care about the characters, which really invests you kind of into what you're learning and stuff.
Yeah, so for every lesson, it's pretty much like in a story, right? So that scene that you saw was part of the lesson that that day my family went to this park to celebrate my dad's 66th birthday, which is a very, very lucky
That's right.
age for a Chinese person.
Yep.
So this is like part of the celebration, right? So actually, I've never seen my mom and dad dance before, so that was the first time I was even seeing it and reacting the way I did. That was completely authentic.
Yeah, I think there is a difference, right, between acted out, scripted out language and the way people actually do speak. And so when you hear you just naturally have the reaction, 太棒了, 太棒了,
Yeah.
it teaches you how to be more natural in Chinese, right? By imitating that naturalness.
And also, if it's scripted and we would just do, 你太棒了, 你很棒, 你跳舞跳得很好, right? So there are a bunch of like scripted stuff. But in reality, when we give a compliment to somebody, it's more than that. Sometimes we say, have you guys practiced like 100 times? That's one way of giving compliments as well.
Exactly.
Where I was asking my mom and dad, so, this is an improvised dance. This is amazing, right? So there's so many different variety of giving compliments that we just completely let go free. Like it's completely natural.
Yeah. And I really do like the fact that it's in the park, because not enough can be said about how cool parks are in China. Like the amount of the variety of different activities you see in the park.
Oh, you'll see. It's really crazy.
It's so cool, right? And I remember going to China, going to the park and be like, whoa, this is just so different. A lot of parks in the U.S. are just more nature-based and kind of, not many people there. But in China, it is just really interesting and cool. And we have a couple lessons that just focus on walking around the park, talking about those different activities, interacting with people in the park.
Yeah, we did a Google Hangout with my parents before, and our students really like my parents a lot.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, mom and dad, would you mind joining us in the video? And my dad is really shy; he's not a camera person at all. But my mom is such a natural. You will see, she's really dynamic in front of camera. It's almost like when there's a camera on, she's like, oh, okay, let me
Suddenly a switch changes, right?
Yeah, that's my mom.
So you can click our videos and find that video. We'll link to it below too.
Yeah, they're sweet, and so I really appreciate that they're so generous to open up their life to show our students. There's one thing I really want to emphasize: the benefit, the good things about this course is that you really get to know the characters. That's not the final goal, but that's the necessary means, because you only can learn something when you care about what you learn, right? So if you like a character, you probably will really pay attention to hear what this person thinks.
Which is a good simulation for real life. because if in your, I mean, assuming that you care about what the people you're around are talking about, but that's kind of how it feels in real life when you interact with real Chinese people. It's not just these basic textbook conversations. That's not
Right.
the kind of conversations you're going to have. You're going to want to say more meaningful, more in-depth things.
So next clip we're gonna see is actually my cousin. Okay, so
yeah.
my cousin, okay, take a look at what she does first, and my cousin is very, very special. It's a very special person to
Yeah,
me.
you can guess what her profession is based on this video.
No, but let's look at the video
Right.
first, and then we'll talk more about it.
Okay,
Oh no, not parents dancing. It's
there we go.
那你们都结婚了吗？没有啊，有男朋友吗？
暂时在谈。
像我们这个小群体里面有很多都是妈妈，但是根本看不出来，她们的状态特别好。
So, yeah, the reason I say that is just because you might think, oh, she must be what, like a professional dancer or something.
No, I
But-
actually guess what her profession is. It's hard. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she's an executive at a major bank in China. So she's really smart,
Yeah.
and she's very beautiful, of course, right?
Yeah.
Okay, her name
She's
is
a superwoman.
Her name is Mindy, and she's my 表妹. 表妹 means on the mother's side, younger female, right? So we have 8 ways
Yeah.
of saying cousin, but she's 表妹. Anyway, so she's really, really special to me because her mother passed away when she was 10 years old, right? And her mother is my mom's younger sister. My mom was pretty much like a mother to her, and I'm like her sister. So I'm an only child, but
Feels
we grew
like
up
you have a
almost like we
sister,
grew up
yeah.
together. So we're very, very close. So yeah, and then
That's awesome.
what you just saw was that we went to her dance studio that she went to every weekend to practice. So you see a lot of her dance mates there.
And in the lessons, we don't just talk to her. We talk to the other people at the dance studio. And rather, kind of like what we were saying before, rather than just talking about, for example, 你喜欢跳舞吗?
Yeah.
喜欢你呢? You know, rather than these kind of flat conversations, we talk about, like, we ask them what the role of dancing in their life, right? What role it plays in their life. Why is it meaningful to them? How does it make them feel and stuff like that? And there's all this commentary about Chinese society and what it means to be a woman in China and modern
it's
China.
very different from the traditional role.
Yeah, how that
women
society's
play.
changing. Yeah, and we tried hard to choose the best clips from the footage we had that would allow you to kind of dive into a little bit more sophisticated kind of intellectual approach to the language rather than just those textbook conversations.
Right, even though they're all girls, right? So next time, even for our male audience, right, we're students, that you're able to apply the same kind of language structure you are learning here to talk about your own hobby, how your own hobby affects your life, etc.
Yeah.
And also, you notice that when we interview them, right, they're all talking like sort of over each
Yes.
other, right? It's kind of messy a little bit,
Yep.
right?
But that's what you're going to experience in the real world.
Yes.
So we don't, especially at the upper intermediate level. So at our earlier, in our earlier stuff, the beginner course and the intermediate course, it also features footage of people who are in the wild speaking naturally. But we intentionally don't include those really tricky situations where multiple people are talking at the same time because at the lower level, you're not ready for that. But now with the upper intermediate, we want to include that, right? Because as long as it's like we can make a good lesson out of it, you know, because it prepares you for the way it's really going to be. But we have the tools on the website to make sure you can understand it, even though it's crosstalk and
Right,
natural.
so for those of you who are familiar with our beginner conversational Chinese course or intermediate conversational course, right, they're all based on authentic dialogue, right? But the difference between the beginner levels, like earlier stage of Chinese learning and now, is that you're able to carry like something deeper, right?
Yeah.
But it's really hard to carry a deeper conversation with a stranger. That's why we use people around me.
Totally.
Because when I talk to them, we already have the background information of each other. We don't have to talk about the most simple thing like, oh, how old are you? What do you do, right? We go directly into how's your life, right?
Yeah.
What do you feel about life these days? And so the topic can get so much more emotional and deeper.
Yes, very much so. I think people are going to love that part of it. I personally, I learned a ton of Chinese while preparing this because of the types of language that was coming out of people very naturally in these emotional situations.
Yeah, so pretty much towards the end, right, you're even going to learn how to talk about the meaning of life. So
生活的意义, right?
Yeah, 生命的意义.
生命的意义. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so let's continue.
All right. So actually, what we want to show you here is just like our other courses. You're not just left out on your own. It's not like we just have this giant string of real life dialogues and you just sit there and watch the dialogues and make the best of it, right? We actually have formulated very structured lessons that our academic director Yanfeng helped us create, and they take you through the dialogue and break down the language from an English speaker's perspective.
Right.
So let's take a look at that.
每次我都有时候要吃安定的。
每次我都有时候要吃安定的。Every time, sometimes I need to take a sedative. 每次 means every time, and it's usually connected with 都, which means all or every. 有时候 means sometimes. So, does my mom mean every time 每次 or sometimes 有时候? Alright, here. She actually started the sentence saying every time, 每次都, but then she changed her mind mid-sentence thinking she doesn't really need to do this all the time. So she then said sometimes, 有时候. I think that is what she ultimately means.
So this is a great example of what we were just talking about, where we included a sentence that technically has kind of incorrect grammar because she does something that native speakers of every language do, where she starts saying, yeah, every time I usually, right? And that's like a contradiction. Like, it's either every time or it's usually, but in reality, that's the way people speak.
Exactly. And so what the scene you just saw was my mom and Yanfeng sitting down for the very first time, talking about their flight experience, making some small talk. So then they got into, oh, if you're able to sleep on the plane. My mom said, no, I can never sleep on the plane. I usually have to take like a sleeping pill, stuff like that. So, but we
use the blackboard behind you in the lesson, right, to show the two possible sentences, to give you a full, complete grammar sentence of what it should be if she said it perfectly.
Right, exactly.
Right, and guide you through that.
And we intentionally incorporate these sentences, which are not perfect sentences, because we really want we want to prepare you for the real life situations, right?
Yeah.
Nobody talks in life incomplete sentences all the time. It's impossible.
Well, what's cool too is that in the quiz, actually, what we do, we'll show that in a second, but what we do is we make sure that the quiz sentences are perfectly grammatically sound.
Right.
And so that when you go to apply the language, you have to take the lesson you learned about the incorrect grammar and apply it correctly.
Just one thing, that what you saw earlier, it was that I was speaking English, right? But the difference between this course and the earlier course is that there's like a bigger chunk of Chinese speaking.
The instruction itself.
Yeah,
is in
lots
Chinese.
of instructions is in Chinese, but for something a little bit more complicated and confusing, and I resort back to English. But for things that I know that you guys should know already, and I will be speaking Chinese, so that's an extra way for you to practice your Chinese listening.
Exactly, much more so than the beginner course and intermediate course. You feel like you're sitting in a Chinese language classroom talking about Chinese.
But this is more like this, right? It's like you're observing two Chinese people talk to each other.
Yes.
And then you're like, what are you guys talking about? Like, you're confused, and then you hit a pause
Button.
And then
you're like, all right, let's break this down. And then you have somebody, a magical teacher fairy appears with a blackboard to explain everything.
And then you say, oh, now I get it. Okay, continue. Right? It's a little bit like that.
And actually, if you check out the lessons, you'll see that the way we structure the actual lesson itself, it shows you the dialogue at full speed, and then you break it down, and then piece by piece, you're slowly seeing more of the dialogue, and it replays it with a little bit more every time, so that you can continually practice, and feel your comprehension actually improving, and then at the end of the unit, you can watch the whole video in a row.
Think of this it's like you're watching a mini documentary in Chinese completely, but you don't understand anything. But we're breaking it down little by little.
Yep.
Eventually, you're like, oh my gosh, I can watch the entire thing in Chinese.
Yeah, if people want it, maybe someday we'll release just only the Chinese from start to finish as a big documentary.
Cool.
But yeah, we wanted to kind of also just show you the website itself in case if you haven't seen the website before or you want to check it out. We also make sure that your progress is being tracked as you watch these lessons, that it's very easy to jump back in from wherever you started, and that you can access your content and information about your studies really easily. And so, for example, if you check out the Upper Intermediate course, all you have to do is go to our website and click on courses, go to Upper Intermediate, and you'll see we have all these units here organized with a clear path showing you where to continue, and your progress is tracked below each one. And each of the lessons has, all this extra stuff that you can use to master the material in the lesson. So, for example, the one that we were just looking at was this taking a sleeping aid one here. And for example, like we were saying before, we try to provide these tools to make sure that even though we're giving you this real deal in the wild Chinese, we make sure you have the tools to understand it. So this is the dialogue replay feature. Every single dialogue has this feature. So you're able to come and look at the whole dialogue line by line as it was presented in the video, but take your time with it. And you can switch between Chinese and Pinyin here. You can also go to your settings and change it to traditional. So if you're learning traditional characters, that's totally available as well. And you can hide the English. That's something our users really requested, because a lot of people, especially at the upper intermediate level, like to practice by testing themselves on, hey, do I understand this without English? And one of the coolest parts is you can listen to the dialogue as it was in the video,
坐飞机我是觉得
or you can
长时
click
间
this 0.5, meaning slow speed, and listen to the slow speed version that we recorded.
我坐飞机，我是觉得太长了时间。
Of every single line. So let's say we have that crosstalk, or when somebody speaks really quickly, or they slur their words, you can compare between the way people say it sometimes when they're speaking quickly in the real world, and the way people actually, or the way it's spoken very clearly and enunciated, which can be super helpful. And then you can click play to listen to all of them in a row, either at slow speed or regular speed. So, but then when you're ready, after you've watched the video, you can click start practice, and this will bring you through a flow of tasks that helps you master the material. And the first one is this audio review.
Yeah, basically I was conducting the audio review. I pretty much guide you through the entire video language points by challenging you to say, how do you say this in Chinese, right? And you think about it and you give an answer, and then I'll give you an answer in both the normal speed and the slow speed, right? So by doing this, you're really challenged on your foot right on the spot to give an answer. So in real situations, you'll be like, how do I say this? And then you'll go through the same process.
Yeah, it prepares you for that kind of pressure. Like, how do I say this? Okay, can I say it?
Can we listen to it real quick?
And yeah.
你好，欢迎来到
Let's skip ahead.
Otherwise。
There's space.
要不然，
要不然
怎么说 even？
Okay, so basically, it's a little bit like a different format of Pimsleur, right? We really reference we borrowed this concept from Pimsleur, but we have thousands of little Pimsleur embedded within each lesson.
Yeah, each lesson has one of these.
Yeah.
So you're able to pop your headphones in and see how much you can recall, or maybe you're working out at the gym or something, and see how much you can recall and proactively speak it out as the form of speaking practice.
Exactly.
And like we said before, it's kind of like having this like Chinese teacher floating around that can just always help you. And then we have the flashcards. So all the vocabulary, by the way, in this course, we worked really hard to make sure that you review the previous vocab that you've already learned from the other lessons, and then the stuff you've never learned in intermediate and beginner, we make new flashcards for every single word with both slow speed and regular speed audio, Chinese, both traditional and simplified, Pinyin, English translation, and this recording tool. So I'll try out my Chinese here. 要不然 I think my run sounded kind of weird there.
Pretty good.
Well,
you were like...
Because we're doing a YouTube Hangout, so the pressure's on, right? But, this feature also, once again, helps you to listen to your own pronunciation and compare it to the native speaker's pronunciation. So you're able to go through all the vocabulary card by card, and then finally when you're ready, you're like, okay, I'm going to hit the quiz. And the quiz is a 10-question quiz test of your ability to apply the stuff you were practicing before. And intentionally this time around, you'll see there's Chinese and Pinyin when appropriate. So let's do this one. Translate the sentence using the words provided. We have to leave, otherwise we'll be late. So 我们得走了，要不然我们会迟到. So this kind of simulates that thought process of forming a Chinese sentence in your mind, like, okay, we have to leave, otherwise, and this is really good when the word order is different between Chinese and English. And you can, like we said, you can switch between the two. And we really tried this time to make sure that the upper intermediate quiz questions are also scaled in difficulty. So they are a little bit more challenging because there's not that many ones where you just pick an image and match a word. It's more about applying the grammar, applying the vocabulary in a full sentence format.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do here is to provide you this comprehensive learning experience from like understanding a concept all the way to practicing.
Exactly.
So
and one thing that we want to talk about too, actually, is you'll notice that there are those locks on levels 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So let me show you.
Yeah, by the way, our current course, like the first 3 units are free, right?
Yes. So if you go to level 1 right now, even if you're not, if you haven't purchased the course, you can use all 3 of the first units for free. And I think there's like 10 lessons or something. So it's quite a bit of material. And then if you like it, of course, you could purchase it. But what we want to talk about here is how these are locked because they're not released yet. So what we did this time with this course was release the first level as soon as we finished it. And then next, starting in January, level 2 will come out, then level 3, then level 4, every month for 5 months until the whole course is released. And you can either just buy the whole course early and have it be added, each level added to your account automatically, kind of like a subscription or whatever, like you pre-purchase it at a discount. Or if you don't want to do that, you can just buy it level by level and just purchase the individual levels. So yeah, that's the reason we did that. It was because all of our courses are available at a full price discount, full course discount, and we wanted to make sure that this one did as well. So you could purchase it early, get that discount, and then just study it as it comes out. Or if you don't want to, you can always just go level by level.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, isn't that exciting?
At first we wanted to do this video because it's not just like a sales pitch for this course. It's about how awesome we really think this course is, and we poured our heart and soul into this thing. So we really hope you guys enjoy it, right?
It's really months where even just it takes such a long time to do this course.
And we went to China. We filmed it and everything, and so
I was
we really
sick
think you
a
guys
few
will
times
like it.
in China,
Oh, yeah.
but I'm like, I gotta soldier on.
That's right.
Yeah.
I don't even think you'll notice. You did such a good job.
Yeah, thank you, and I really, really hope that you guys will enjoy it. So let's take some questions from our students.
Yes,
Very
let's go to the Q&A. Here we go.